Hello, everybody. I wanted to say a bit about our work this week. We're continuing to read and focus on the nature of conflict, and we're also talking about reflective listening this week. I want to take a few minutes just to emphasize how important that skill is and how oftentimes people overlook the fact that it is a skill. Listening is a skill that can be developed and that needs to be practiced in order to develop that skill. So, you're going to be reading about reflective listening this week and working on some activities that ask you to apply the ideas to your own personal experience. I encourage you to take those activities very seriously. It's going to deepen your learning and your understanding of conflict and also of reflective listening. I do work with intentional communities and cooperative groups and nonprofit organizations. Usually they hire me as a consultant or a trainer around issues of conflict and in their organization and communication. And what I've oftentimes find is that what they're needing help around is usually learning a conflict tool. So, for example, I might teach them nonviolent communication, which we're going to be studying in the coming weeks. But I really have to break down the conflict tool for them into component parts that they can practice. And one of the main component parts of many conflict tools is reflective listening. And a lot of us think that we're good listeners, but it's interesting, to make the distinction between hearing and listening. And we can be hearing the words, but missing a lot of what's going on for the other person. So there's several layers of reflective listening that involve understanding the content of what somebody is saying, but also understanding the emotion, the feeling, and the meaning of why this is important to them. So I encourage you to practice this skill, not just with our activities this week and reflections, but try it in your lives, in your interpersonal relationships, and try it at work. Try it in your school relationships. So that's the way I have learned it, and that's the way I encourage other people to learn it, that it is a skill that most of us usually believe that we're better at it than we actually are, and that but the good news is, we can improve through practice, and it does take a lot of practice to get better at it. But once you do that practice and once you get better at it, you're going to be seeing and approaching conflict in a whole different way. So the skill sounds basic, but I would say it's a fundamental skill. It's not basic because it's not actually that easy to practice, to learn, to put in practice. It's a fundamental skill, and don't take it for granted. Put in some time and effort to practice this skill in your lives, in your relationships, and see what comes up for you, see what you learn. All right, that's what I wanted to emphasize for this week. And like I said, we are going to be coming back to this issue, this skill, and this idea of the power of reflective listening when we talk about nonviolent communication in the coming weeks. All right, take care.